Folks, for a lot of you, these Instagram and YouTube algorithms, frankly, do you dirty. They bring you creators who are just creating doom and fear and causing you to do nothing. Well, I want to thank the Instagram algorithm because it brought me this lovely lady who has just rocked my world. I've got an entire page of notes that we're going to break down. The one and only Coral. How you doing, Coral?
Hi, thank you so much. Well, I love that introduction. I think I need to hang more around with you. That pumps me up. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Awesome. 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 Well, my audience doesn't yet know who you are, but they are going to love you. How would you what is like your resume? Like, how would you introduce yourself to my audience?
Okay, so my name is Coral Santoro. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a speaker, and I'm a founder of a company named Coral Santoro Ventures, which was my first baby, was my first company. Then we grew it into 4 new acquisitions, and we have Coral Santoro Group. So I actually started my journey right out of high school. I was traveling the world. I was the type of person that I knew college wasn't for me. And my parents were totally fine with that. Like, both of my parents studied in the States. My dad did tech, my mom did marketing, and the beauty of it is that I ended up doing both in my company. And once I started traveling the world, I started building an audience when social media was just emerging. So think about the world influencer didn't even exist. Like a lot of these things didn't even exist. How we see Instagram and a lot of the platforms. We had a lot of YouTube, which we knew we'd love to go and like search what we wanted to search. And once they started emerging, like this thing about influencers, about building a brand, like putting your business online, I started to realize that I started gaining followers. And I was like, okay, I actually do not know these people who are following me. Like, who are they? And I realized I could do this for companies. And it was when nobody knew about this. So I started knocking on different companies, and they were like, okay, let's give her some money. Let's see what she does. And I built my first company. So I was a consultant for global brands, and I work with athletes on profits. I've hosted B2B conferences and live events around the world. And my focus now is helping people build financially independent lives and scale businesses by commanding strategy and the right mindset.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like my mission is simple. Like I want to create opportunities for others to grow, succeed, and achieve the kind of freedom they actually deserve and dream about. Because I know like we hear this a lot. Like we hear this a lot. And what I love to say is we are filled with so much information. There's so much coming our way and we love it. Like we save it, we like it, we comment it. But how many times do you actually like stop and be like, okay, I want to apply this. Like I actually want to apply this. So that's why I started doing the company. This is the first time I actually am online. So recently I actually took the time and started building everything that you see on my profile. Because at first I was just busy doing like my actual business, but now it's the time to actually like share the world what I know and hopefully get to some people and inspire them to know that it is possible.
Yeah, well, we'll just give people a taste because again, I got an entire page of notes. I want you to riff on one of your posts was talking about the life is just 3 C's: choice, change, and chance. Kind of break that down for folks. That was one I had to go back and watch 3, 4, 5 times, and I'm like, gosh, she's so good at this.
You know what's funny? I was actually I was getting myself ready for this, and my mom actually was like, "What if he asked you about the chances, choices, and chances?" I was like, and now like you just told me, so you kind of like read my mind, which is well, I actually truly believe in those 3 C's, and I always say there's always something that you have to do to change in order to see a result.
Mhm.
So I always say starting a business is a chance. Like you don't know if it's going to work, or starting something that you love, or even quitting your job, or falling in love. It's a chance, right? A choice is something that you actually decide. Like you actually sit down for a minute and you're just like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make the change. So I'm actually going to do certain things that will give me a result that I want. And I think that with both of those, you have to know that with chance and choice, you're going to make a change. So it's kind of like you have to know that there are 3 components in life that I like this quote about Henry Ford. He once said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that. As human beings, we're wired in a certain way since we're little to know that life just goes that way. And
Yeah.
I love to say that I actually was filming a content yesterday that I said, it doesn't matter where you come from, but your destiny should be what you want. And a lot of times we think that I actually started my business with $12. So people think that maybe, I had the stress fund or certain things, but it's just a moment where I was sitting down and I had $12 because I actually was starting my business. I paid this guy to do some ads on Facebook when they were just starting, and he wasn't delivering at all. And he had like my card on file, and he just like audited the payment. And I remember like looking at my account, it was like, okay, I have to make a choice right now if I really want to continue being an entrepreneur and really trying this to make a change in my life right now. And it's a chance. So we have to make those two to see if it actually works,
Yeah.
So I really like saying that I'm convinced, like Steve Jobs said, that I'm convinced that about half of what separates successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful is perseverance. And that's why I love to tell people about it's not easy, but entrepreneur, I get so many messages every day, and I'm like, it's always a chance if it's going to happen or not, but you have the opportunity to make a change about the things that are happening in your life to have a result. So yeah, I love that you actually like that the content, something that I truly believe in. So that's awesome.
Yeah. No, I think it's just a great way to look at it, because again, sometimes people put out things and you're like just catchy, but this is real life, choice, change, and chance. And you just got to understand that and then be okay with that. That kind of tied into another one you put out there that was just mind blowing to me. And I think more people need to realize this. You talk about Google Maps and you take a wrong turn and it doesn't yell at you. It's just like, it's recalculating. It's okay. Calm down. The car's not going to blow up, right? You'll still get there. I think there's so much in that wisdom. We need to give ourselves more grace. I think so many people, I think we beat ourselves up so much for stuff that happened yesterday that we can't undo, but we let it screw up the future.
Yeah. I kind of like to do this kind of examples with when I start talking to the camera. And it's true. I always say, if sometimes we get on our iPhones and it says software update, and you're like, no, remind me later. And then like your phone start acting weird, right? And it's like all this glitches and you're like, okay, finally I'm going to do it. It's the same with you. Like we've been so used to like kind of like going on this burnout mode where we have to just stop and like actually like hug ourselves. And when I do coaching, when I go into live events, I always like to tell people, like, I love to stand up in front of the mirror and I talk to myself and be like, no, she's just saying this because she's like live and she was just too motivated. No. Like if you actually stand up and you talk to yourself, like you talk to people all day long, every day. But how many times do you actually talk to yourself? That's why I always say, like, thinking is hard. Thinking is hard because you have to debate two thoughts at the same time and kind of say, okay, is this good? Is this bad? Like, am I tearing myself apart? Am I not? And that's why the Google Maps one resonated with so much people, because it's something so simple, but at the same time, it's something that in our own lives, we don't stop and be like, no, you're doing a good job, even though it doesn't feel like you're moving. And sometimes as entrepreneurs, and I see that people are starting their businesses, they don't see results fast. They don't see sales. They don't see a lot of things moving fast. And I'm like, take a breath. You took a chance already. Like, chance, there you go. You take a chance. Things are going to change because you're doing all these things.
Right.
So I always say, especially right now with social media, we kind of like open up, like we have our phones and we're like, oh, this influencer just got, handed a massive bouquet of roses in front of a jet, and they're coming out of the Lamborghini, and they have all these things, and they think that's success. So they're like, oh my gosh, I'm late. Like I'm not performing. And I'm like, no, that's not real life. Sometimes some of those things are borrowed. Some of those things are rented. You know what's real life? Like, what's actual success? Waking up in the morning and be like, I'm doing what I love. I'm changing people's lives.
Yeah.
And I'm a good person. And when you understand that, before I came to this podcast, I was actually getting some really cool, exciting news about things that we're working on. And I get a call from my dad. And he was getting out of the doctor for some exams for his cancer. And in that moment, you realize nothing matters. Like, all these things are great, but that's the thing that mattered to me. And so all of these people, when you have to give grace to yourself, you have to understand, pause for a minute, talk to yourself, like actually stand in the mirror and be like,
Yeah.
you're doing great, you know,
Yeah.
and that's what doesn't matter.
I think that when you said hug yourself, talk to yourself in the mirror,
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I internalized that, and I'm like, I don't do that. Right? I
Yeah.
spend so much time kind of external, either family or my circle. But I got to tell you, I don't think I have done self-talk before,
Yeah.
and I certainly don't hug. I am not one that's going to self-congratulate myself
Yeah.
or say attaboys to myself. But you know
Yeah.
what? I probably should,
Yeah,
right?
you
'Cause
should, for
yeah,
sure. Like,
yeah,
you're an
that's
amazing author. You've done so many things, and sometimes, like, we kind of forget about how hard that was.
yeah.
Like, kind of like, what let me ask you, like, what motivates you in the morning? Like, what is something that you wake up every day and be like, "Yes,
I'm just excited to help people, right? Been doing content every day for
I
8
love that."
years, 16,000 videos, and I look forward to the next one. It's really I'm just broken. I look forward to the next video. Not I
I
don't
get
ever
it.
look backwards,
I
right?
get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
I'm like I'm excited. Like I got 5 minutes until Coral and I are talking. I'm excited. I'm not thinking about the one I just
Yeah.
did. I'm thinking about
No.
the next one.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so it's
And
kind
that's
of
the
weird.
thing, you should, what I do every time, like, and I actually do this every day, like, most of the day, let's say 5 days out of the week, but at the end of the day, I usually end up working, like, at 2, 3 in the morning, and I go to the mirror at the end of the day, and I'm like, "I'm so proud of you. Like, you're
That's
doing
awesome.
so good." And then, like, I look at the mirror because I have a mirror, like, next to my, I look at the window, I'm sorry, next to my mirror, and I'm like, "Thank you, God. Like, thank you. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for giving me all of this. Like, just give me health, get me more of, like, wisdom, and just
Yeah.
I can take it. Like, if you give me those 2, like, I can do it." And I look at the mirror and I'm like, "Good job. Like, tomorrow's gonna be great." And one thing I love to say is that when you go to bed, a lot of people rehearse problems.
Uh-huh.
So you
Yeah.
close your eyes and then you rehearse all these problems, all the things of tomorrow, all the things that didn't go right. But and I always say, like, what if you rehearse all the beauty, like all the things that you
Yeah.
saw, like for tomorrow? Like, how would you wake up every day? Like, it would be totally different, right? If
Oh,
you're not
absolutely.
a palette. So yeah.
Well, that leads us right into the next story that I watched over and over again, and this is the story of the Three Genies.
Oh yeah.
Again, it's a punchline. You're going to have to pay attention to this, but tell the story of the Three Genies because it kind of leads to this aha moment.
Yeah. So I actually I was talking to a friend, and that came to mind when I was looking at that content. And she was telling me about all of these things that were going wrong in her life. She was getting a divorce, she was doing all these things, and she's like, I don't know why I'm not happy. Like, I have all these beautiful things in my life. Like, I have a daughter, I'm getting divorced, like I have an amazing job. And I'm like, why are you looking externally? Like, you just mentioned like all these beautiful things. And that's when I came up with that idea to just make it more like a storytelling kind of type. But we're always looking for external things. And that kind of like story that we came up with was kind of like, we're always seeking, like, the first genie is like, okay, let's bring him to the moon. And they're like, no, we actually give them intelligence to do that. So that's kind of like what I wanted to reflect, is that you already have intelligence. Like,
Yeah.
you already are good at something. It's something. Like, I might not be good at writing a book like you are, but I'm good at some other thing. Like, you are good at something. And then the other goes like, okay, but we actually should do them climb the Mount Everest. No, we actually gave them lungs. And what I'm trying to say is, you have health.
Yeah.
Like, you have that. And then the other one's like, no, let's make them look somewhere else because they'll be too busy looking at themselves. And that's kind of like the mirror thing that I was talking about.
Yeah,
We
it
forget
is.
about that. We forget about that. And it's inside you. Like, it's always been inside you. Happiness is something you don't outsource. It's not something that you lost. And that's why I did another content that was talking about purpose. And the purpose never left you. Like, purpose is there. It's just, you just got drowned by the external things that the world told you about you, and you believe them.
Mm.
And that's the thing. Like, it's always been inside you. The purpose, happiness, everything is just there, and you just have to look into it. And I remember talking about this. I did a content about remembering things. So, for example, remembering the last time you went to your grandma's house, and like the
Hmm.
smell, and like you can actually picture it. If right now I tell you your grandma's house, your parents'
Yep.
house, probably you came up with an image, right?
Sure.
Like the kitchen, like certain things, right? And like your childhood bedroom, like how safe it felt, how good it felt, right? And I always try to say, like, those memories were your highest, like your good moments, right? And then life happens, right? And a lot of people just drown themselves, like you're not worth it, or you cannot do it. And I'm like, no, no, just remember those things, right? When you wanted to be a soccer star, a singer, a quarterback, and you're like, you can actually, you think you can believe it because no one told you couldn't,
Mm.
you know? So kind
Yeah.
of like the Genie story was kind of bringing people back to their senses, that it's always inside you. Everything that you think of, it's inside you.
Yeah, the Three Genies one's so powerful because I think you're right. I think we default to external validation, or it's the next thing, it's the next accomplishment, it's the next connection. And if you just step back, whether it's talking to yourself in the mirror, like we talked earlier, or just realize that happiness is inside you.
Yeah.
And the genie story is just perfect. It's like the third genie was just quiet. It's like, let's just hide it within. They'll never look there.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's
duh. Oh, that was really,
For
really
example,
cool.
there's a research by Carol Dweck. She's a really good writer, and she shows that people with a growth mindset who believe they can learn and improve, for example, are far more likely to bounce back from setbacks and succeed long term. And that's exactly what changed things for me. So I started showing up differently when I reframe failures as feedback. So a lot of these things is like, it's not just what I do, it's how I think while I'm doing it. And that shifts changed my results. I know it can change someone else's too, that's kind of like the thing, that you just have to reframe a lot of the things that you're thinking.
Yeah, I love that. Well, you told a really emotional story about a guy that was on the plane that crashed into the Hudson River.
Oh yeah, Rick
Uh,
Elias.
yeah, tell us about Rick, because I think there's just so much in that wisdom with his story.
I think that the with his thing, for the viewers that haven't seen, Rick Elias was one of the 200 passengers that was in the crash at the Hudson. And he told this beautiful story on his TED Talk about how he learned three things while the plane was crashing. And the first one was that, well, the first engine went out. He told, like, the some of the people in the airplane, like, they were kind of panicking, and they were like, no, no, nothing's happening. And then the second engine goes out, and the pilot goes like, brace for impact.
Mm.
He learned three things in like those microseconds. Like, the first thing, that he had wasted so much time debating, like being anger, ego, and he wished he was more happy. The second thing he learned was that, kind of like, he talked about his wife too. Like, he had been like spending so much time like arguing with his wife, and he just wanted to like hug her. But then one thing that really, really hit me about that story was that life, like death, wasn't that scary. Like, not living fully was. And that's something that we have to think about every day. I was talking about my dad earlier, right? And he had a septic shock. So he had a biopsy and he almost died.
Wow.
And his life completely changed, because when you have those moments that you realize, like, like, life is so amazing, I want to live more. But sometimes we are alive, but we're dead inside.
Yeah.
And kind of like Rick Elias' story kind of reminded me of that. Like, I didn't want to put my dad out there because he's like very private, but kind of reminded me of that, because Rick was telling about himself, like, do you know if your plane's actually crashing? And that kind of like metaphor just kind of explains so much about life. Our planes might be crashing every day. Like, what are you doing? Like, are you happy with your job? Are you happy with the life you want? Like, there's so much to live. And kind of that story just exemplifies everything. And talking about that, there's a beautiful story about the crash in the Andes. And I kind of like, crashes teaches you stuff, and it's kind of funny because we have crashes in our life
Yeah,
every day.
you don't plan for a crash, but boy, do you got to react to it if it happens.
And kind of like that, just that the plane of the Andes crash, it's a beautiful story about when people say that the last thing you lose is hope, but it's actually the first thing you lose. And one of the survivors was saying that when the plane crashed, they survived because no one told them that they couldn't. And they said that they survived for various reasons, but the first one was love. When one of his friends broke his femur, that guy was like, look, my thing does not have a fix, like, go help other people. And that's why a lot of other people survived. he said that another thing that they survived was because no one could argue, or no one could actually complain.
Mhm.
And sometimes we complain a lot, like on a
Yeah.
daily basis,
Sometimes.
complain, right? And they said if someone would have complained, like they wouldn't have made it. And the third thing he said was that when they finally go and search for the radio up top, like they went through so much to like get the radio when one of the parts of the plane was up top in the mountain. They went back down, and when finally they made the radio work, they heard that the search was called off because of weather. And he actually said that that was the best news ever, because now he knew that survival only depended on them. How beautiful, right?
Yeah.
I think that most of us, if you would hear that the search would call off, you would be like, okay, I'm dead.
I'm
like,
done.
Okay,
it's over.
you know? And that's a lot of us every day. Sometimes we hear bad
Yeah.
news and like, it's over. Like my life is over. My business is not working. A lot of things, like my friendship, my marriage, like a lot of things are not working, but he said that they survived because of those things. And that's beautiful. They were freezing. They went on shorts because they were flying to another country that was warm.
Right.
And they, so all these things about crashes teaches about death, and that they didn't die because they realized all these beautiful things. And I'm like, okay, if our plane's crashing, if we hear that on the radio, they say that there's no more options, but it's up to you. And that's the same thing in life. It's up to you. So it's really beautiful when I'd love to tell all these stories because they just resonate with people in their own life.
Yeah, and you're a wonderful storyteller. I mean, if people aren't following you on Instagram and wherever else you're at, they're truly missing out. But it always goes back to where we started: choice, change, and chance.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad we started there. It all
Yeah.
comes back to that. I'm a dog lover, just like you.
Oh,
You put out a wonderful post
Yeah.
about the three important life lessons your dog taught you. What the heck is that all about?
So I got my dog 5 years ago. He's a French bulldog.
Mm-hmm.
And he's traveled with me to like 7 different countries. Like he goes everywhere with me. He sits on boardrooms. He's like there. Like I have his little stroller. I just carry him around like a baby.
I saw that.
And something beautiful is that every time we come home, they just greet us. They're like, you were missing like 5 hours, like you were gone for 5 hours, or they just greet us. Like they're so happy. And every time you're down, they just come and sit in your lap. They're so happy. Like they show us that love is just the most beautiful thing, because they care about the small things. And sometimes that's what we have to realize. I had a session with one founder, and we were talking about how when you make it, a lot of people think that when you make it, it's about buying like cars or like houses or, like planes. And it's not about that. Like when you make it, like it's so funny because people think that making more money or making more means like all these luxury things. And it's peace. Like it's peace on doing what you love. It's peace on like having the uncertainty that you're doing something good. And that's what dog teaches. Like he just has his 5 toys. He doesn't ask me for no more. Like he loves those 5 things. And he plays around. He gives you joy. And that's something that we have to learn as human beings, that happiness can be found in the most tiny things, like going on a walk, calling, like it's a blessing if you can call your mom, if you can call your dad, if you get a text from someone you love, like it's a blessing. Like that's real wealth. Like, and dogs teach us that. And I feel like a lot of people could relate to that, because the world right now, like we see a lot of loneliness.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we have dogs, they give us so much. Like they give us so much. And it's just beautiful. I think they're the best friends in the world for sure.
No, absolutely. You actually have this little trick you recommend most of us do. You call it the rule of 9. It's a way to trick the brain to get things done. It's so subtle and it's so powerful. Tell us about that.
So at first, when I started getting like my first company, I could handle it. But then when I started having former companies and I was at boards and I had to travel, I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? Like I was feeling so overwhelmed. And you cannot outsource your vision. That's what I always say to them. Like you cannot outsource. Like a lot of people can actually do a lot of things for your business, but like your vision, and you cannot outsource that. So I actually love sticky notes. Like I'm a fan. I don't know if 3M knows this, but I buy a lot of that. There we go. I'm a fan. And I use them everywhere. Like if you see in my office, they're everywhere. And one day I was playing tic-tac-toe with my mom, and we were like, oh my gosh, like we're never going to lose because like we're adults. Like it's kind of impossible that we lose. And then I was like, what if I do this as task? Like 2 days later, I had the tic-tac-toe like next to me. And I love crossing out things with actual pens.
Yes,
Like
that
I love tech.
yes.
I love tech. I code. I love tech. But certain things, I just need to write them down and like actually cross it up because it feels so satisfying. I don't know what it
Yes.
is. I feel it's
Oh,
so satisfying.
it tricks your brain. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just came up with these things and I did 9 things and 9 tasks that I had to do every day. And every time I completed something, I just felt like I did more. And then I told a friend of mine, and then I did a business coaching and they did the same thing and they felt good about it. So I was like, okay, let's just put it out to the world
It's
and
a thing.
see if it works. And a lot of people said that it actually works. So some guy, he DM'd me. He's like, what if I don't have 9 tasks for the day? I'm like, okay, you must have 9 tasks for the week, right? And it just feels like you feel like you did a great week. So yeah, the rule of 9s just came up of pure tic-tac-toe with my mom.
No, but it's one of those subtle things that if you just, because we all have tasks, and maybe you put it on your phone, maybe you mental note, maybe you email yourself, but there is something powerful about a piece of paper and just crossing it off. That's like it's so powerful.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things that, before I became, before I started creating content, I was in tech. I'm an employee, right? You're a natural born entrepreneur. I'm an employee. But what I did for 20 years is I sold stuff. For the last 10 years, I was leading teams. And one of the things that I've often told the story of is most people, they buy with their emotion, their heart, but they have to justify it logically.
100%.
And you put out this great example about a guy who went to a doctor and was told to stop smoking, right? He was logically told all of these things. And he's like, screw it, I'm going to die anyway. But then he goes home and he hears something and it changed. What did he hear?
Yeah. So there's a story about this guy that goes to the doctor and he's like, you have to stop smoking. It's going to kill you. And then he's like telling his coworkers like, nah, like we're all going to die anyway. And I've heard that so many times, actually, like we're all going to die, like YOLO, that kind of like mindset. Yeah. And his daughter comes at home at night and he's like, you're going to be a granddad. So that night he couldn't sleep. And next morning he like throws away his cigarettes for good. And that's when we talk about emotion. Sometimes like nothing changed in his life. Like there was no new information, but emotion made the change. So a lot of
he had a why. He had a new why.
Exactly. I love the why. I love the why. When your why is so strong, there's nothing that you cannot do. You're just going to find ways to make it happen. So the why is very important. I love that you said that.
Yeah. See, I really did stalk you. I've even got more stories here. There's a story of the lime green Lamborghini and the Rolls Royce. I think there's so much wisdom in that as well. When you lived in Palm Beach.
Yeah. So I lived in Palm Beach, and at that time it was very funny because it was when I like kind of like actually my business was actually growing. So I kind of like moved at this like really wealthy part. So I was like kind of new, and like Palm Beach is like, like old wealth money. But then there's like the island, like in front, like West Palm Beach.
Yep.
And it was funny because I went one day to like grab a smoothie, and it was like a $30 smoothie. And I was like, oh my gosh, why is
what am I doing?
Like, I can actually make this at home. And there was like at the valet, there was this guy that was parking his Lamborghini. And I was like, I think we all can picture the guy right now.
Oh yeah, we know what he looks like. Yes.
It was like, like kind of like with the valet, parking wrong enough so you can actually stare at him. Like making all those sounds with a car that actually annoys me so bad. Like, I know you have a great dude. Like your car is great, dude, but I don't want to hear the engine, like if you're parking. And then there was this guy, he was probably like 70 years old, parking his Rolls Royce. And he was just like with his wife, with his little Pomeranian dog. And we can also picture them, right? Like we can totally picture them. And I was talking about wealth because the Lamborghini guy like wanted to know he was rich.
Yeah, he clearly, he wanted.
Yeah, and the other one was wealthy and didn't care if you like if you knew or not. Like he was just living his life. And sometimes that's the beauty about wealth. Sometimes wealth doesn't have. I always say if you go to a Chanel store, you can see a lot of people shopping. Like you wouldn't ever imagine they have money. But they do. And then there's all these guys that like really want you to think like they made it. And that's not the important thing. Like when you're doing something meaningful, like your wealth stands in your own principles. And that's what matters. Like you don't have to show off anything. So it's really cool. I love telling that story because it's it's something very
You
true
can,
about.
yeah. Yeah, you can definitely, it's very visual, right? You can conjure up
Yeah.
your own. I can picture the Lamborghini. We've all
Oh,
seen the
everything.
guy. Yeah, everything,
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. And then you did this last one that I noted down about
Yeah.
giving people money, right? 100,000,
Oh,
500,000, a
yeah.
million. And this one really helped me internalize how I used it was, are you an employee or are you an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
And that's kind of
Yeah.
how it broke down to me because, hey, are you just working the 40-40 life to get some money
Yeah.
and you're gonna, go
Yeah.
YOLO life,
Oh, yeah.
or are you doing something bigger? So talk about that.
So I think that there's always two kind of ways to see when people actually want to start a business. So I always ask them a few questions. The money one is really good because I say, what if I give you $100,000? Because a lot of people come into business and they think they're missing a lot of stuff, especially money. They're like, no, I cannot start because I don't have money. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, what if I gave you $100,000 like right now?
Yeah.
And a lot of people will be like, okay, I'm going to spend this, and the only thing that you hear is spending. And then you talk to an actual entrepreneur and they're like, okay, I actually going to make like a strategy. I'm going to make systems. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're talking, like I can listen.
Yeah.
And what I always say is that money exposes your internal things. Like money just, if you have chaos right now, like $1 million won't solve that, because you hear all these people that win the lottery and they're just broke again, because they have
Yeah.
that mindset about money. So when we talk about that one, I did another one that talked about, what if I gave you 10 more hours in a day? And you hear a lot of people, they're like, okay, I would go to the Bahamas, or I would go to Bali, or I would do this. And it's, again, a lot of that kind of like wasted potential mindset. And then you talk to entrepreneurs, they're like, oh my gosh, I would do this. And it's all about business stuff that I will actually,
Right.
we'll give you the Bahamas soon. Like
Yeah. It's coming.
Bahamas is coming. But if you go into
Yeah.
entrepreneurship with that mindset, trust me, it's not going to work. Like, it's not going to work. Like you've been an entrepreneur your whole life.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you mentioned something right now interesting. Like, I'm an employee and I'm an employee too, because at the end of the day, we're always serving someone. I talked about this really cool thing that I heard this story and I thought is brilliant, that this guy goes to, he was in a taxi and the taxi driver goes like, I love that I'm my own boss and I have to listen to anyone. I do whatever I want. And then the guy at the back goes like, turn left. And he turned left.
Yeah.
Know? So we're always serving someone. Even if we think we broke out of that, we're not. Entrepreneurs, we're always serving someone. We always want to make things better for someone. And that's the whole mindset of being an entrepreneur. Because you think if you broke out of that, you're so wrong. Like, we're always serving someone. And kind of like that brings me to like 3 books that I think that when people ask me about like what books should you read, what books have changed your life, and I think it comes to that, to what we were talking about. Because first things, like, I think if you go to my profile I always say that we grow with mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the most important parts, because if you don't have a good mindset, nothing will work. So I think, like, when it comes to mindset, you should read 3 books. And I think in this specifically order.
Okay.
First,
I'm
Mindset,
ready.
7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. It's a classic because it doesn't just tell you what to do. It teaches you how to think, prioritize, and lead yourself effectively in any area of your life. And once your mind is like in that right place, you can start mastering your finances, because that's so important. Like, if you have your mindset right, but then you don't know your finances, like, everything's going to crumble. So I always say, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We all have heard about that. Robert Kiyosaki. It completely changes how you view money, assets, and financial freedom. It's the kind of book that makes you see wealth in a totally new way.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you've got your mindset sharp, now when like your finances are in order, it's time to learn how to sell, like at the highest level. And that's where 100 Million Offers or 100 Million Leads by Alex Hormozi comes in. Like, these books teaches you how to craft offers so irresistible that even Alex says selling becomes almost effortless, because if you have a healthy mind, you understand your money, and you know how to position and sell your product, you're no longer just running a business, you're building something unstoppable. And that's what we need to understand as entrepreneurs. And if we're building something true. So, like, mindset, finances, selling, like that's kind of like the formula you should go to.
I love that. Cora, you're doing so many amazing things. Where should people follow you? Are you most prevalent on Instagram or YouTube? Where if people want to dive into you, where do they do?
Oh, so we have different things depending on what you want. Instagram, I'm posting every day. We have TikTok that talks about more marketing stuff. So if you go TikTok, it's kind of like different from Instagram. And then YouTube kind of like has both. But then if you go to our websites, we have First Things First. We're preparing our podcast as well. So we're very excited about that. It's going to be called Current Business Review. So we're excited about that.
Nice.
And we're going to talk about a lot of entrepreneurs. So I hope you can join me next. I'm going to be asking you the questions.
Fun.
And so Current Business Review right now, it's an online business magazine. So if you go there, we're always posting about really cool stuff about everything tech, like everything you can think of. We're talking about on Current Business Review. Then we have the Vine Global, which is our business. It's our B2B business. So that's when we do all the summits around the world. We go to Asia, we go to we just at Mexico, Miami, Sydney, Tokyo, Buenos Aires.
Wow.
So we do a lot of B2B leadership there. And then Coral Centauro Ventures Inc. is actually our first business that we do online events there. So we're always teaching about leadership, mindset, coaching, like everything is there. So you kind of like have to choose. And if you're a corporation, you can always find us at Coral Centauro Group. That's where we work with governmental entities, nonprofits, like everything you can think of. So we're excited. We're excited where we're heading. And we always have the mission to always be better and always act with kindness. Because I think at the end of the day, we don't take anything with us, not our titles, not our money, not our assets, but what people can actually say about you when you're gone. So that's kind of like our motto: being good, be good to people, and keep shining, keep strong, and don't you ever give up.
I love that. And it's really funny when you asked me earlier about what my goal is. My goal hasn't changed since I retired from my W-2, and that is to create a legacy that outlives me by 50 years. Right?
I love that.
I think you
that.
died
Yeah.
twice. Yeah. You once when your physical body goes, and then the last time somebody says your name. So I'm trying to live 50 years past my death. That's what I'm trying to do.
Michael, you are doing so with this amazing podcast. I've had the best time. Honestly, you're so good at this. And it's been really great to end my week with so much positivity, with so much greatness. So let's keep doing what we love, right?
Absolutely. Coral, you're amazing. Take care. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.